Welcome to Studio One Live. I'm Hey Rude the Guru, and this is Rude Radio.
The simulation theory, or more accurately, the simulation hypothesis, is pretty much a new religion at this point. This hypothesis is the idea that our entire universe, all the natural.
Hold on. A new religion? Say that again.
My friendship with Tyler was that he was part of the space program. He's really integral into the space program, and he launches, these rockets and works with SpaceX and that type of thing. And what I found out, which he actually did not know, and I pointed it out to him, was that the whole thing was a ritual. The whole thing was ritualized. So they identified certain time periods astronomically when it would be beneficial to launch. And they also had, the rockets had Roman gods on them. And they also had Latin, first century Latin, not medieval Latin. It wasn't Catholic Latin. It was basically imperialistic Latin. And everybody had to stay in their own space. Like there was a place where they had to stay. They wore the same clothes for every mission. And they ate the same food.
I'm so sorry.
In robot form, or more likely it would be in some simulation of a world where we managed to populate it with conscious minds, so that whether we knew they were conscious or not, and that world is a state of that's it's unendurable.
This is an AI urgent warning. They hope you know more. Of course, war is coming, so they can practice with their toys the beast gave them. They got to use the new technology the beast gave them. Of course, it's a goddamn war coming to come. AI.
I think we are very near the end of our species because people often spend so much effort trying to get.
You hear that? We're at the end of our speech. That's this white building this robot and this matrix. It's not the end of our species, bro. Okay? It's not the end.
Gain something without understanding the consequences. For example, we will get to a life where you can live indefinitely, but realizing that you have a chance to live forever. But if there is an accident, you die, the people who will be in that situation will be at a level of anxiety and terror unlike anything that we know. Then you have artificial intelligence.
Now, did you hear that? That's what's gonna happen in their little beast simulation that they're trying to build. The simulation is fake, bro.
But I do think it would be, if anything is bad, creating hell and populating it with real minds that really can suffer in that hell. That's bad. That's you are worse than any mass murderer we can name if you created. I mean, this could be in robot form, or more likely it would be in some simulation of a world where we managed to populate it with conscious minds, so that whether we knew they were conscious or not, and that world is a state of that's it's unendurable.
And the world is not ready for it. It's the first technology in history that can make decisions by itself and take power away from us to hack human beings.
It's not making decisions by itself, bro. Y'all program an algorithm, but it's not its own decision. As a matter of fact, us humans, free will, we can't even really prove that we got our own decisions.
Free will, that's what about physics relationship to free will? What have you come to believe about that?
Everyone who knows something about physics will stumble over this problem sooner or later. So let's just talk about it. And then, but yeah, I mean, so there's this basic problem that, for all we know about the fundamental laws of nature, they are a combination of determinism, where the future is predicted by what happened in the past, and then every once in a while there's some random event that comes from quantum mechanics, but you can't influence it because nothing influences it. It's entirely random. And now, whether you think that this rules out free will or doesn't depends on what you mean by free will. So this is why there is so much debate about it. So the way that I've tried to approach the problem in my book is by just first explaining what we know about the laws of nature, which is what I just said, this combination of determinism with the occasional random quantum jump. And then you can ask, well, does this mean that free will does not exist? What do you make out of this? Now, personally, my conclusion from this is just, well, free will doesn't exist.
What is the thought that decided to make the decision? So you mean to tell me you think these AIs can make their decision? Stop it.
Manipulate our behavior and making all these decisions for us or about us, whether to give you a loan, whether to give you a mortgage, dating apps shaping your romantic life. But the real problem is that increasingly the humans at the top could be puppets when the most consequential decisions are.
What you mean they can be puppets? They are already puppets. You are one of the puppets. Mr. Yuval Noah Harari, you're one of them. And y'all keep warning us about this AI, but y'all keep building it.
Are made by algorithms, global financial decisions, wars. This is extremely dangerous, but it's not inevitable. Humans can change it.
But with what's to come, are you optimistic about the future?
I'm very worried about two things. First of all, like artificial intelligence, the fantasy that AI will answer our questions, will find the truth for us, will tell us the difference between fiction and reality. This is just another fiction. I mean, AI can do many things better than humans, but for reasons that we can discuss, I don't think that it will necessarily be better than humans.
It will never be better than humans. It's a fiction. It's a fiction. But that's about it.
Finding the truth or uncovering reality. I think we are very near the kind of end of our species. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be destroyed in some huge nuclear war or something. Bioengineering and using AI and brain-computer interfaces, we will change ourselves to such an extent that will become something completely different, something far more different from present-day Homo sapiens than we today are different from chimpanzees or from Neanderthals.
Genetic engineering, implant technology, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, all the way to cybernetic prosthetics. Although all of these things fall under the transhumanist label, technology that seeks to transform us entirely. The focus of my talk today will be on the ultimate transhumanist goal, what has been termed by Ray Kurzweil, one of the leaders of the movement, as the singularity. In his book titled The Singularity is Near, When Humans Transcend Biology, he writes, "There will be no distinction post-singularity between human and machine or between physical and virtual reality. It's very important to understand that transhumanism is simply the transitional stage between humanism and post-humanism. Make no mistake, the final goal is to eradicate humanity as we know it. Once you understand the final destination, it becomes much easier to look back and identify the psychological conditioning, the biological tampering, the cultural grooming, and the educational prepping that we have been subjected to for decades in preparation to making us accept a post-human future. It takes a lot of physical and psychological abuse to get an intelligent species like ours to agree to its own extinction. Most, if not all, that has transcended in the last 60 years was designed to get us closer to accepting such a dystopian reality. Care to accept it or not, we live in a hyper-controlled matrix where our perception of reality is meticulously planned, managed, and executed in order to control and steer us in whichever direction they wish. And the direction is a post-human world.
What is this, transhumanism? Y'all want the humans to be a robot, artificial.
Accept it or not, we live in a hyper-controlled matrix where our perception of reality is meticulously planned, managed, and executed in order to control and steer us in whichever direction they wish.
So the beast can claim more and more that you don't need God. Is another fiction, okay? He's spilling fiction out of his brain right now, saying, "Oh, we're gonna change ourselves completely."
Human world. For this, they first needed to destabilize, dehumanize, and demoralize humanity through every means possible. The destruction of the nuclear family, children being indoctrinated by the state, abortion, the eradication of God and spirituality from education, life in megacities and away from nature, toxic food, air and water, social media, replacing real human connection and interaction, engineered financial crisis and taxation, endless wars and massive migration, stress, anxiety, depression, drugs and alcohol, constant fear-mongering, moral relativism as the new religion, and I could go on and on about how humanity has been influenced and forced to move away from all the things that give us strength, security, purpose, and meaning. Or not, we live in a hyper-controlled matrix where our perception of reality is meticulously planned, managed, and executed in order to control and steer us in whichever direction they wish. And the direction is a post-human world.
You're speaking fiction, the very fiction you just spoke about.
I mean, basically, you have a very deep connection still with all the other animals because we are completely organic. We are organic entities. Our psychology, our social habits, they are the product of organic evolution and more specifically mammalian evolution over tens of millions of years. So we share so much of our psychology and of our kind of social habits with chimpanzees and with other mammals.
Informative video on the cell as the basic unit of life. In this video, we're going to explore the incredible complexity and wonders of life at its most fundamental level. What exactly is a cell? Well, imagine it as the building block of life, the smallest functional unit that makes up all living organisms. Whether it's a tiny bacterium or a mighty oak tree, cells are the foundation upon which life as we know it is built. But don't let their size fool you. Cells are teeming with intricate machinery and processes that keep life going. The cells come in different shapes, sizes, and types, but they all share certain key components. Let's take a closer look at some of these fascinating features. In an animal cell, we have a protective outer boundary called the cell membrane. It acts like a gatekeeper, controlling what goes in and out of the cell. Inside, we find the nucleus, often referred to as the control centers of the cell. It houses the cell's DNA, the genetic blueprint that holds the instructions for all cellular activities. Plant cells, on the other hand,
Remember, the atmosphere of the earth is the cellular wall of the earth, which is a cell within this great body that we live in.
have an additional layer called the cell wall, providing extra support and protection. They also contain chloroplasts, which are like mini solar power plants, capturing sunlight to carry out photosynthesis.
Did you hear that? That's like mini solar power plants. Just like this matrix or this simulation they're trying to build to mimic true life, the true supreme being. But remember, the beast said he was going to make everything fake, everything look as if it doesn't need the supreme being. But all materials are made from the supreme being. So that's a mute argument.
And produce energy-rich molecules. Now let's dive deeper into the incredible activities happening inside cells. One crucial process is called protein synthesis. Proteins are essential for building and repairing tissues, and they perform various functions within the cell and throughout the body. During protein synthesis, A cell's ribosomes read the instructions from DNA and assemble amino acids into specific protein structures. Another awe-inspiring event is cell division. Cells reproduce and multiply through a process known as mitosis. Mitosis is a tightly regulated process, ensuring each new cell inherits a complete set of genetic information. Now, you might be wondering, do cells communicate with each other? Well, they sure do. Cells use various methods to send signals, share information, and coordinate their activities. It's like a busy city with cells buzzing around, exchanging messages, and working together to keep the
Just like a busy city, humans hustling and bustling around. Your city is alive, a living being, and the humans within it makes up this city, same as your state and your country, and same as the earth as a whole for the humans, and on and on and on. Just like life makes up your body. We're in life within life within life, not assimilation in assimilation in assimilation. It's life in life in life. Don't be fooled, my friends.
organism in harmony. Cells exhibit an astounding diversity, tailored to meet the specific needs of different organisms. Let's take a closer look at some noteworthy examples. Prokaryotic cells. These are simple single-celled organisms without a distinct nucleus. Bacteria are a prime example of prokaryotic cells. They possess DNA, ribosomes, and other essential structures, enclosed within a protective cell wall. Eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are more complex and found in plants, animals, fungi, and protists. They have a distinct nucleus, enclosed within a nuclear membrane, which houses their genetic material. Eukaryotic cells also contain specialized organelles such as mitochondria, responsible for energy production, and the endoplasmic reticulum, involved in protein synthesis. Mitochondria, often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell, mitochondria generate energy by converting nutrients into adenosine triphosphate. This energy currency fuels cellular activities, enabling organisms to carry out essential functions. Endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum acts as a transportation network within the cell, facilitating the movement of proteins and lipids.
Now, doesn't this look like an entire universe within one single cell? We also live universe within universes within universes. Life within life within life. There's one great life, and that is the supreme life.
Consists of rough endoplasmic reticulum studded with ribosomes that synthesize proteins, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum involved in lipid metabolism and detoxification processes. Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus serves as a processing and packaging center. It receives proteins and lipids from the ER, modifies them, and packages them into vesicles for transport to various destinations within.
You can't tell me that's not a city or some type of, like it's a port. It's a port. Boats coming in, they store material, they ship it out. You got an Amazon Prime living in each one of your cells. Come on, man.
Or outside the cell. Nucleus. The nucleus houses the cell's DNA, which contains the instructions for the cell's activities. It is like the control center, coordinating and regulating cellular functions by transcribing the DNA into RNA and directing protein synthesis. Cell membrane. The cell membrane is a vital component of cells. It is a selectively permeable barrier that allows the passage of essential substances while keeping harmful ones out. The membrane is composed of a phospholipid bilayer embedded with proteins that aid in various cellular processes such as transportation, signaling, and cell adhesion. Cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton is a network of protein filaments that provide structural support and shape to the cell. It consists of three main components: microtubules, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments. The cytoskeleton also plays a crucial role in cell division, intracellular transport, and cell movement. Lysosomes. Lysosomes are small organelles filled with digestive enzymes. They act as the cell's recycling centers, breaking down waste materials, cellular debris, and engulfed foreign substances through a process called autophagy. Lysosomes also play a role in programmed cell death, also known as apoptosis. Vacuoles. Vacuoles are membrane-bound sacs found in plant and fungal cells, as well as some protists. They serve various functions such as storage of water, nutrients, and waste products. In plant cells, the central vacuole also helps maintain cell turgidity and provides structural support. Chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are unique to plant cells and some protists. They are responsible for photosynthesis, the process by which plants convert sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into glucose energy-rich molecules and release oxygen as a byproduct. Chloroplasts contain chlorophyll, a pigment that captures light energy. Cell diversity. Cells exhibit incredible diversity across different organisms. For example, neurons are specialized cells found in the nervous system, enabling communication and transmitting signals. Muscle cells contract and generate force, allowing movement. Red blood cells transport oxygen throughout the body, while white blood cells play a crucial role in the immune system's defense mechanisms. Cell adhesion and cell junctions. Cells adhere to each other and form tissue structures through specialized cell adhesion molecules and cell junctions. These adhesive interactions are crucial for maintaining tissue integrity, cell communication, and coordinated movement. This specialization allows for the organization of cells into tissues, organs, and systems, ensuring the efficient functioning of complex organisms. Cell metabolism. Metabolism refers to all the chemical reactions that occur within a cell to sustain life. It involves processes such as nutrient uptake, energy production through cellular respiration or photosynthesis, and the synthesis of molecules essential for cell growth and maintenance. Cell size. Cells can vary significantly in size. While most cells are microscopic, some can be relatively large. For instance, the chicken egg is a single cell that is visible to the naked eye. The size of cells is influenced by factors such as their function, metabolic requirements, and the organism they belong to. Cell diversity in multicellular organisms. In multicellular organisms, different types of cells collaborate to perform specialized functions.
Looking 100 years or 200 years to the future, maybe we are no longer organic or not fully organic. You could have a world dominated by cyborgs, which are entities combining organic with inorganic parts, for instance, with brain-computer interfaces. You could have completely non-organic entities. So all the legacy.
Explain how this non-organic entity would be. Because you just said AI is not going to be what we think it is. It's not going to be better than humans. So what is it? Are you spewing more fiction, Mr. Yuval Noah Harari? Okay? Explain to yourself, how will something inorganic become an entity? I just like saying this cup will become an entity. It's not organic, but it's going to be sentient. No, sir, Bob. We're not falling for the fiction you're spewing, Yuval Noah Harari.
And also all the limitations of 4 billion years of organic evolution might be irrelevant or inapplicable.
So, this is another trick of the beast. The beast wants you to believe that they don't need God, and we can make these with computers, robots, everything artificial. Your water, your sugar, your blood, your meat, everything is being created artificially. But they all have to use organic materials. So, Yuval Noah Harari, please explain to me, how is this non-organic is going to become sentient? I don't know.
Do you think
People assume, partly because we are very far from understanding the brain, and we are even further away from understanding the mind. We assume that the brain somehow produces the mind, but this is just an assumption. We still don't have a working model, a working theory for how it happens. We still don't have a working model, a working theory for how it happens.
Sure.
For example, gravity is one of these objects because we don't know, we have various proposals for quantum gravity, but we don't know which particular quantum theory of gravity is the correct one yet.
But we certainly have a problem in modern physics. But we certainly have a problem in modern physics. But we certainly have a problem in modern physics.
It's a problem. It's a problem. And so people who are talking about the simulation hypothesis kind of would totally ignore the problem that we have with putting our reality on a computer.
But if it happens, if it is possible to directly connect brains and computers and integrate them into these kinds of cyborgs, nobody has any idea what happens next, how the world would look like. And it is certainly makes it plausible if, again, if you reach that point, that you could have an inter-brain net. The same way that lots of computers are connected together to form the internet, if you can connect also brains and computers directly, why can't we then connect an inter-brain net, which connects lots of brains, as you described? Again, I have no idea what it means. I have no idea what it means. I have no idea what it means. I think this is the point when the way that...
That's the most truthful shit he said this interview. He's like, I don't know what it means. It'd be like the board. We are the board. Assimilation is futile. No. An interbrain net. That shit would be crazy. You can have literally mental rape. You can have people creeping into your mind, raping you, and being pleasured, and you feeling the sensations of that torment. That would be kind of crazy. Just imagine if you wrote a book about that.
Organic brains understand reality. Even our imagination, in the end, is the product, as far as we can tell, of organic biochemistry.
Do you think...
We are not equipped, I think, to have a kind of serious discussion of what a non-organic brain or a non-organic mind might be capable of doing, or how it would look like. And all the basic assumptions.
Okay, so you just said it. You just said it. You don't know how a non-organic mind would even think. How could it think? Where would it get its desire and... Unless, because I believe the Supreme One is everything, all objects. Unless the Supreme One and its consciousness will occupy that as well.
It was about non-organic life.
Now with a question mark at the end of it, as just noted. I think that the concept of life can be understood in two very different ways. These may be complementary as much as they're contradictory, but each of them, I think, carries with it profound implications for the way in which we understand the nature of archaeological evidence. So in one view, life is characterized by cellular organisms, distinguished by an autonomous metabolism, and the ability to reproduce themselves. The other presents life as the capacity of complex and heterogeneous systems to generate emergent phenomena. That is, it's the process of the world's becoming. And it invites us to consider what we might mean by non-organic life. The distinction here is between seeing life as something that's contained within particular kinds of beings and seeing all things as caught up in and animated by the flows and fluxes of life. Organic life forms, then, acquire energy mostly derived from photosynthesis and deploy this to build a metabolism which they use to grow, sustain themselves and reproduce. Thus, they evade the tendency of things to move towards their lowest possible energy state. Organisms are both separated from their environment by a membrane and highly internally compartmentalized, notably at the level of organs and cells, enabling functional differentiation and the parallel operation of innumerable biochemical processes. The bounding membrane is at once the source of the organism's individuation and its temporality and spatiality. And moreover, the membrane is the foundation of autopoiesis, the self-maintenance and reproduction, and arguably also the consciousness of the organism. As autonomous bounded entities, organisms from unicellular creatures upwards are capable of a degree of intentionality or directedness towards things like sources of sustenance. Now, all of this suggests a clear and absolute distinction between organisms, highly structured bodies that can acquire and regulate sources of energy, and bodies of inert matter. This outlook is what Elizabeth Povinelli refers to as the carbon imaginary, which contrasts metabolism and reproduction with inertia, inanimacy, and barrenness. For her, this perspective can be identified with Kant, who distinguishes life from matter, which can't move itself and is consequentially inert. As Karen Barad points out, the distinction between the animate and the inanimate is even more deeply ingrained than that between culture and nature. And it's only now starting to be challenged by the emphasis on the lively and vibrant qualities of matter associated with the work of people like Jane Bennett. Those non-Westerners who insist on the animacy of material things have traditionally been dismissed as primitive, irrational, and fetishistic. So the Kantian view is that matter needs to be supplemented by some kind of force if it's to become organized or mobile.
Let me just explain to you the definition of life. Life is purpose. If you are carrying out a purpose, then you are alive. That's the definition of life. No matter what you are, whether you're an animated life form or a non-animated life form, if I create cups, those cups are alive. They carry out purpose. It will live as long as I'm using the cup and using it for the purpose in which a life created another life, a non-animated life.
That is, either an external hylomorphic imposition or an internal entelechy, or vital principle. But as Tim Ingold argues, it's a mistake to imagine that animacy is an inherent quality or property of material things, or something that's been endowed on them from outside by humans. Rather, it's the consequence of the dynamic working together of a field of relationships that makes up the world, and through which entities of all kinds emerge into being. In this sense, all things are animate, but not in the same way, or to the same degree, or at the same time scale. This brings us to our second understanding of life, not as the... In this sense, all things are animate, but not in the same way, or to the same degree, or at the same time scale. This brings us to our second understanding of life, not as the prerogative of specific kinds of being, but as the capacity of an animate world to generate diversity and complexity through the process of morphogenesis. In this process, forms emerge at massively variable rates from the flux of the matter flow. They achieve coherence and then they dissipate. According to such a view, it's not individual beings that are living, but creation in its entirety. Looked at.
Oh, they are individual beings living, just like tornadoes spawn out. Those are living beings, come to do what they come to do. Hurricanes, those are living beings. All the storms and weather phenomena, those are what we call the nature spirits.
In this way, it's possible to contest the argument that only organisms are able to have overcome the universe's inexorable movement towards entropy and disorder. At the individual level, organisms perish, and it's only through reproduction that their form is maintained. But equally, emergent self-organization is present in a variety of non-biological phenomena. And I think it can be claimed to be the principle that links together organic and non-organic aspects of the process of life. Self-organization, then, can draw together different forms of matter of various kinds in order to produce novel emergent properties. This can occur spontaneously under conditions of non-equilibrium. Manuel Delander describes what he calls the machinic phylum, a diverse range of self-organizing processes, in which previously unconnected entities sync together and form new assemblages that operate to bring about tangible effects in the world. Delander specifically draws attention to what he calls chemical clocks, systems that oscillate regularly rather than tending to equilibrium. And he emphasizes the way that matter can sometimes apparently respond to fluctuations in its surroundings. Jane Bennett, too, points to the unending processes in which matter does not come to a standstill, but self-assembles into crystals, convection currents, snowflakes, whirlpools, and weather systems, specifically where unstable conditions provide a field of individuation for emergent phenomena. Because all of these things are linked in the continuous becoming of a world distinguished by shifting potentials, shifting temperature, pressure, energy, and so on, it's possible to make comparisons between processes that occur in the geological, chemical, and biological realms. The reason why we can describe some of these phenomena as the non-organic components of the process of life is because they're creative, because they bring new things into the world. It's creativity, then, that links organic and non-organic aspects.
It takes life to create life. So if you create something, it is alive because it has purpose. The being, the great supreme being, always has been, always will. There's always been life.
Of the process of life. Timothy Morton suggests life is more than just persistence. It's the limitless process through which the world renews itself. Individual organisms perish, but life both continues and brings forth unending novelties. In the organic register, this occurs through biological evolution, so that Deleuze and Guattari describe the organism as a resting point between bursts of creativity. But equally, complex material systems composed of diverse elements, which may or may not include organic life, also generate new things, and each entity reciprocally contributes to the intertwined becoming of the whole. Existing structures are broken down, and new forms emerge from their components, locking together in unprecedented ways.
Oh, so Leibniz was this genius, contemporary of Newton, sort of a antagonistic. They both invented calculus at roughly the same time. There was a question about who was first and so forth, and they were, you know, sort of at each other, but they were contemporaries. But Leibniz had this idea that consciousness couldn't emerge from physical systems. He has a famous argument of the mill, where he in one paragraph basically dismisses the idea that objects inside space and time, like neurons, for example, could create consciousness. For him, it was so obvious that he spent a paragraph on it and moved on. And then he's got a book called The Monadology, where he was proposing essentially that consciousness, perceiving entities are the fundamental reality, and that they were interacting. So strange dynamics we called a pre-established harmony, where God, so he brought God in on his thing, I believe. So strange dynamics we called a pre-established harmony, where God, so he brought God in on his thing, I believe, to sort of coordinate all the perceptions of these. So
meaning God was the first mover, the
yeah,
fundamental.
the fundamental,
thing.
right?
Okay,
right.
but he saw it as a creator, touching things with like a divine spark of consciousness.
Yeah, but his ontology was that
See how they kind of mocking it a little bit, but the guy was Einstein's counterpart or contemporary, whatever he said, and they both invented calculus. But is it because he saw that this supreme so-called simulation is God, the supreme being, the supreme life? So it cannot be fake, even though it seems to be a simulation that we live in. I understand why, if consciousness is the fundamental, then everything else is a simulation. But it is real because the supreme is real. It's not the simulation in the sense of what everybody is trying to make. They cannot make it.
Fundamental reality beyond space-time was these monads, these perceiving entities, basically. And but God, I think, was the deepest reality for Leibniz. But God, I think, was the deepest reality for Leibniz. But God, I think, was the deepest reality for Leibniz.
Humans are incredibly capable in terms of adapting to new situations. I don't think it's impossible for human society to adapt to the new AI reality. The only thing is it takes time, and apparently we don't have that time. And people compare it to previous...
Wait a minute. So tell me how or why do we not have enough time? What clock are you? What's time schedule are you using here? No, I mean that's a serious question. I mean you almost certain that we don't have the time, and it's like it takes time, and apparently we don't have the